The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
With so many people living longer, the fear of outliving your money becomes a reality for many of us. Will I be a financial burden? Will I outlive my money? How will I be remembered? My name is Neil Himmelstein, president of Main Street Planning Group. Please contact me by visiting mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. I will introduce you to strategies that will guarantee you will not outlive your money, that can guarantee you will not be a burden on your loved ones. Through a collaborative approach, we will uncover solutions that offer tax-efficient strategies, lifetime income, and legacy planning, choice, organization, direction, and education. That is the code we stand behind. Contact mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. And listen to me every Friday at 3 p.m. as I host the Main Street Code for Financial Success, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. You can always reach me at 631-647-4694 or at themainstreetcode.com. Here every Friday at 3 o'clock. If you miss an episode, you can catch me on Apple or Spotify, where I have podcasts of my previous episodes, or on my website, I have all my old episodes if you miss a guest or you want to hear something again. But please reach out, and we're happy to help you. And we work with hundreds of agents across the United States, insurance agents, attorneys, CPAs, with your financial planning, with life insurance, annuities, disability, long-term care. We are experts in all of these areas and in planning and helping you put your financial team together. So I was very fortunate to be a guest this week at a couple different things, but Bank of America had this wonderful event at the Parish Museum. If you've ever been out in Hampton's gorgeous art museum, and they do a lot of neat things for the art community that which is why they sponsor that event. That very unique things, and it all pertains to what we do. Today I wanted to talk about arts, collectibles, and jewelry as an asset class. You know, we may have artwork or collectibles or jewelry that we've purchased over time or we've inherited from our parents and grandparents, and it could be worth quite a bit of money. And most estate planners or most people that do a basic will, they don't account for all these things that they've accumulated. So in doing your will preparation, do you have an accurate inventory? I myself has to take inventory of all the things I have. It's very important that you know what you have if you want your kids to get it, or you want to sell it, or whatever you want to do with all your stuff. It could be very valuable. And if you have valuable pieces that you've purchased, whether it be jewelry, a diamond ring, or artwork, do you have records of what you paid for it? Have you ever had it appraised? Is it insured? Very important to keep an eye on that stuff. What happens if you pass and you want to give certain items to your children, but you didn't delineate it in your will? This happens all the time. You see people fighting over mom's vase. I mean, simple things, stupid things that may not mean anything. Goods and collectibles have both an intrinsic value as far as money, but they also have a sentimental value to certain people. And I'll give you a great example. When my mom had passed, she had a bunch of jewelry, but we couldn't find it or anything else. But when my dad passed, we thought my mom put it in a safe deposit box or it got stolen. But after my dad had passed, I found this humongous bag in the house of all my mom's jewelry. Now, some of it was good and some of it was costume jewelry. I know that she wanted to leave, my daughter her diamond ring, or her engagement ring, and I know she wanted to leave her other granddaughter another ring, which was not put in her will or anything else, but my brothers were of that understanding. Then there was other jewelry, some good, some not so good, and what we did, the 4 brothers that were still remaining, I'm one of 5 boys, we all got together, even though we live in different states, and we took the bag and we put it in the room, and each one of us picked an item, whether it be pearls or junk or whatever, but whatever it meant, and we kept the wives out of it. So it was just the 4 boys, and we knew what our wives liked, and we each picked an item, and we went around and but that doesn't always happen. And it could lead to major, major problems if you don't do things like that. What if you have artwork that's worth a lot of money? Let's say you had a Mona Lisa or a Picasso or something that is worth a lot of money, and you have multiple children, and you left that, but you want your children to be treated equally, but you left that Mona Lisa to one child. What do you think the other children are apt to do about it? That's a problem. Okay, because you want to treat your children equally, possibly, and not favor one child, but the other children are going to now snipe and say, hey, we want the equivalent value of that Mona Lisa you left that child. And then you have fighting, and you have arguing, and you have problems. Now, what if that was not included in your estate plan, and you left very valuable things, and it wasn't part of your estate? Well, fine art, jewelry, collectibles are often subject to estate tax. And you may not realize it, but you may not have a lot of money, but all of a sudden there's a big tax that has to be paid because all this stuff now has to be appraised, and the estate is valued on the total value of the estate, including arts and collectibles, and the value will be determined by professional appraisers who assess factors like the provenance, the rarity, the condition, the market demand, and it could be a substantial burden, and the only way to pay that estate tax is to possibly sell the item just to pay the taxes. So there's a lot of strategies you want to take beforehand. First strategy is take an inventory of what you have. You may want to gift artwork and gift jewelry prior to, as part of your plan, well before you leave it behind. I was actually talking to an art dealer the other day who has significant artwork, who has one child, and she said, I want to sell it because my child doesn't want it, so I want to sell it now to give me liquidity. So you need to consult a tax advisor, estate planning professional, or financial planner like myself, who is going to organize this for you, and then take action and figure out where you want things to go. And don't assume that your kids understand your wishes after you pass. Planning eliminates problems. If you assume that your stamp collection or your gold collection or your coin collection or your prized artwork is going to go to your eldest child, well, your other children may not understand or know that assumption, and that's going to create major, major problems. So tax laws change, and it's all part of the taxes, but it's also part of getting yourself organized. But one of the most valuable things that you can have at death or to pass on to your loved ones is cash, is liquidity. And liquidity is huge. Whether it's estate liquidity, whether you need it now for your living expenses, or whether it's liquidity you need after you pass. Why? It's easier to divide $1 than it is a house, a piece of jewelry, or an equipment, or, equipment or a business, or, a building. It's much easier to divide cash. And one of the ways that you can have a lot of cash is with life insurance. life insurance gives you a huge cash bucket that, if designed properly, will pass federally and estate tax-free to your heirs. So it can be used in a couple of ways. One, it can be used to pay the tax. One, it can be used to, hey, I want to leave one kid this valuable painting or my business, but the other two kids, I want to have the equivalency because they're not involved in that business or they're not going to be able to appreciate that artwork. So I want to give them cash. So how do I do that? Well, maybe I need a life insurance policy that will pass in place of those two things. It's the great equalizer, and the great liquidity is to have a well-done life insurance policy, and that's what we specialize in. You're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. I look forward to speaking to you. 631-647-4694. I encourage your questions and comments. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. Before the break, we were talking about art as an asset class. Art, collectibles, jewelry, all these things are very valuable, and my advice, take inventory of what you have. A lot of people don't know what they have. They don't know what's valuable, what's not. If it's old and sitting there and no one wants it, sell it. If you need to borrow money off your artwork, there are Bank of America, which sponsored this event, will loan you money against artwork, especially if it's highly prized, expensive work. They're doing some fancy things so that you can have liquidity. And one of the thoughts I had is, let's say you had a big piece of artwork in your portfolio and you wanted your kids to get it, and maybe it's worth $100,000. Okay, and you know what? You want your kids to give it, but if I give it to one kid, the other two kids can't get it. Well, if the bank will loan you money against it, you can use that money to buy insurance so that the other two kids can have that value, $33,000 each, or $50,000, $100,000 each, or $200,000 from that cash you can borrow against that piece of artwork to equalize your estate. Just an idea, just a thought. For those that are doing estate planning, think about that as another asset that you may need to make liquid to make everything even, just like a commercial building or a business. That's why we buy life insurance. So, one other topic that's come up in the news recently, it was in the Wall Street Journal. It was in some other financial publications, and I got a lot of calls from financial advisors, which I was surprised because their clients read these, and they go, well, what is that? And they said, Neil, what is that? Even the financial advisors didn't know it. So it's called a QLAC. What the heck is a QLAC? Well, a QLAC is a qualified longevity annuity contract, and it's only offered from insurance professionals, and most of them have no clue what it is. And there's a reason they don't have a clue, but all of a sudden it's popped up on the radar. So a qualified longevity annuity contract came into being during the Obama administration. And basically what it was it's an annuity that's used for your IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, for any qualified money you have that will pay you out all the way up to age 85, that you could defer your income coming in. Why would you want to do that? Well, under the current tax law, you have to pay at some point required minimum distributions, at 72 and a half, and I think they're upping the age now, that you have to start taking your IRAs and 401ks and all that. If that's your only savings and you've been taking all these tax deductions for IRAs and 401ks, we know a lot of doctors have put away ridiculous sums of money in these vehicles so they could take off their taxes and defer the money. At some point, the government wants the taxes back, so you have to take distribution on that money, and the IRS forces you to take what they call an RMD, or a required minimum distribution. Now, that required minimum distribution is 100% taxable to you. And there's a calculation based on the amount you have in your IRA that you have to take distribution on, whether you need the money or not. So for those that are highly compensated, saved a lot of money, let's say they saved $1 million in their 401k, they got very lucky in the market and this and that and great, but they're 65 and they're retiring and they think, oh, I can retire, this is great, but that's the only asset they have. Well, anyhow, it's 72 and a half if they're not working anymore or whatever, and they need to draw income off of it. Every dollar is taxable, so they want to stretch that out. So if I don't need all the money that the RMD is forcing me to take, previous to, you used to be able to take up to $125,000 to defer till age 85. So if, for instance, you had $1 million and you could take 125 away, so if you would now be considered to the IRS to have 875 if you bought a QLAC for 125,000, you would have 875,000 where the IRS would calculate how much your distribution would be. So you take less of a distribution and you could defer that income all the way to 85, and you'd have an annuity contract that would calculate how much you'd get at age 85 and thereafter. So that's what a QLAC is. Now, a little known thing happened this year with the passing of the Secure Act 2.0, and we've had seminars and discussions and radio shows about Secure 2.0 about a lot of little intricacies. But one of the little intricacies, which quite frankly I missed until I did some recent reading, was that they expanded the QLAC so that you could put up to $200,000 into this. So when Wall Street Journal and all these articles wrote articles about this, they said some of the clients started calling and saying, hey, I want one of these QLAC things. How do I get it? So that's why I got the call, because a QLAC is only issued by a certain number of insurance companies. Very few in the state of New York still do them, because this whole process went unnoticed. You know, it was all hot and exciting, when it came out, and then everybody forgot about it, including financial advisors, but nobody brought it up again. And now all of a sudden it's been brought up again. I'm just letting you know that we have that product and we know how to design this so that you're protected and we can continue your income so you can have income for as long as you live, and we can protect it while you're alive, and so you'll never run out of money. So this is a great tool in addition to other tools that'll make sure that you have a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. You can schedule income streams to come in any time in your life or thereafter, including your beneficiaries or your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren. We can structure things with insurance contracts and the help of some legal guidance in the proper paperwork to structure monies in tremendous fashions. So the QLAC is another, what we call tool in the toolbox, qualified longevity annuity, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Now, other news. I read this morning, mortgage rates are at their highest in many, many years. They've gone up again to 7.3%. What that means is the treasuries are going up, and the fixed annuity market that we do with fixed annuities are up pretty good, where you can lock in money 4.8%, 5%, that you can lock your money away and take advantage of these higher rates if you're in that position. So take advantage of the fixed rates, no risk, no worried about the stock market. Now is the time. This is what all the big money is doing, is taking advantage of what we call fixed income products. The stock market, I don't like to talk about the market much, but it goes up, it goes down. They're predicting a recession. So if you're in the market and you're in the market heavy, or if you want to scale back, now is the time to do it. and find out what the best fixed instruments are. Now, there's a lot of short CDs out there with even higher rates, but we don't know where they'll be a year from now. So you want to lock in longer rates, longer time. It may be a little bit lower than the short rates today, but if you want to lock it in for a long time, when interest rates will come back down, we think, now's the time to do it. And we can show you how to do that. You're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I am Neil Himmelstein. I can be reached at 631-647-4694 or themainstreetcode.com. Look at my website, Spotify, Apple. I'm here to answer your questions, and I'm so glad to meet you folks and help you with your financial plans. Thanks, and have a great day, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.